let's talk about the main things I want to talk about. One of those things being what happened over on the Steam hardware survey. Now, if you've never seen the Steam hardware survey, I don't know how you do anything involving gaming and not seen the Steam hardware survey. For the longest time, the top GPU on the Steam hardware survey has been the 1060, the GTX 1060. But that's finally been overthrown. Now, it is the 1650. Usually, it's like you'll never see something like a 70 class card, an 80 class card. Nothing like that will ever get into this top slot. There's a reason why the biggest thing you'll see is like a 60 Ti card, and also you don't see much red for a while either. But I knew this was coming soon. I didn't think the 1650 would end up taking its place. I thought we would have waited until maybe like 3060 laptops. I'm surprised that's higher than the regular 3060. The only problem with like the past 3 or so years, usually this would have been the 2060 by now, but the 2060 is going down because there's going to be new cards that are coming out as well, and people are buying these 3060 laptops apparently. But usually the 2060 would have taken this place, but because the GPU prices have been completely fucked the past couple of years, that cycle never sort of happened like it normally would. And I don't know if it's really going to happen with the 40 class cards, because Nvidia is just pricing them in an insane way. I don't think the 4070's been announced yet, so obviously the 4060 wouldn't. But if anything, if like the higher end's anything to go by, I wouldn't be surprised if we're still seeing like scalping prices on the Nvidia cards. Like, it just doesn't make any sense how Nvidia's pricing stuff at this point. I'm sure, internally it makes sense for them because people are going to buy it, especially if you have limited stock availability, which seems to be what they're doing. There's a lot of places where these cards are selling out, but we don't know if they're selling out because they're actually selling out or selling out because of the amount of hardware that was allocated to those stores. So you can make it seem like a product is selling a lot more than it really is if you just don't ship out enough hardware. Now, they might just not be shipping out enough hardware, and so they might just be shipping out enough hardware and there's just not that much of a complaint about the pricing. Like, there's a lot of people talking about the pricing, but the people who are going to buy the cards anyway had already bought the cards. Actually, that does make some sense for like the high end. I could see that on the high end because usually, unless you've got the money to spend, you weren't buying high end anyway. Now, as the high end goes higher and higher and higher, that is limiting the amount of people that can be involved in that space. But those 1% gamers were always buying the top tier cards anyway. The real question is what's going to happen with the 7600 and the 4060 and the 4050, things like that. I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know how Nvidia is going to be doing their pricing regarding this, and whether there's going to be any demand for it, or people are going to wait till buy second-hand cards, or wait till the 4060's out and then buy a bunch of 3060 cards as the price come down. Then there's a matter of will the prices come down that much anyway, or is it just not even going to matter? I honestly don't know. This is why I'm happy I bought my card when I did. Besides the fact that, new generations always have, flaky issues, things like that, I got a good deal. I got a, $200 off or whatever on my 6700 XT, and it's great. I would like to have waited for the 7000 series and just see how it's going to go. But I think, honestly, unless you're in that class where you're, beta testing hardware, you're, writing open source drivers, you just want to test things out. You're not, writing the code, you just want to, make sure the guys developing the code have a good test space of hardware to go on. That makes sense to buy a first generation product. But I think for anyone else, it sort of makes a lot more sense to, if you're going to buy first gen, wait until first gen has matured a bit. Like, Steam Deck, for example. The Steam Deck has been through a lot of software updates, and from my understanding, it's a lot better than it was back at launch. There's still, fundamental hardware things that can't be changed, but the software itself is going to improve over time. And the same is true for drivers for a GPU like this as well. Over time, they're going to get better, and hopefully by the time that a sensible person is going to buy them, it is going to be in a better state where a lot of those issues don't work. I believe with the a lot of the issues don't matter. I want to say with the original Ryzen chips, I want to say initially they didn't work on Linux. Like, you had to do some like kernel patching, some kernel tweaking to use those chips. I might be mistaken. I very well could be mistaken, but I want to say that those original Ryzen chips didn't work properly, or it might have been the original RDNA cards. I know it was something on the AMD side, and it was in like the modern AMD where they changed out a lot of their architecture, things like that. If someone knows, honestly, it's probably both. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised if there was like big issues with either launch.